Good day to all you fellow mates and adventurers. My name is Mordecai, and welcome to the Institute of Supernatural Arcane Affairs. I will be your narrator for today, where we analyse various RPG-related stories for potential considerations that can be applied to tabletop role-playing. Halloween is a pretty good time for filling up on all sorts of nice sweets and experiences. Cookies, pumpkins if you're interested in something that goes nice in soups, and you can't forget the sometimes outlandish but always impressive costumes. And sometimes, we also have Halloween-themed role-playing adventures for the time of year. It also means that there is no shortage of cookies for the cookie-addicted. So now is the time to let you all know that you've been bamboozled. Spoiler alert, today's horror story narration has no cookies, except in the title. You won't find any pumpkins either. Instead, let's subvert this subversion by talking about plot hooks. With a lot of campaigns, there's usually a big overarching plot awaiting discovery by the players, with the campaign usually coming to a close after the plot's resolution, whatever that resolution may be. It could be the defeat of the party, as the evil emperor marches his army across the land to conquer it all, or with the villain being defeated in an epic clash for the ages, or really any number of other scenarios. But we often start down the path towards that resolution by encountering plot hooks. These plot hooks can often take many different forms, such as having a recurring group of cultists, official paperwork placed in odd locations, or even that one unusual apple with arcane properties. So, naturally, you can have problems and issues arise with conveying the urgency of the overarching plot through some of these hooks. Sometimes players can get obsessed with a particular detail that they can interpret as really odd. How many memes have been made about the chair in the basement that was uncovered during Critical Role's second campaign? Apologies to Matthew Mercer if you're somehow listening to this. I honestly don't know why your players got obsessed with that chair either. Which leads us to ask, what plot hook was used to completely derail the plot in today's story? Let's find out as we embark on another delve. Before we begin with today's story, if you like my content or want to support the channel, feel free to subscribe and leave a like on the video. It's free to do, and every bit of support is highly appreciated. Plus, you can always change your mind at a later date. For now, please enjoy. Let's delve into the often terrifying world of r/RPGHorrorStories. Today's narrative is titled, If You Give the Rogue a Cookie, and is written by user Torok. This story is from a long while back. I decided to run a game of Dungeons & Dragons. I had played in many TTRPG games before in a number of systems, but I had very little experience as a dungeon master. I threw together a simple plot and rounded up 4 players. The plot starts with a paladin who was an adoptive father to the 4 players. The game itself starts at his funeral, and the sorting of his will. The paladin has left an old trunk to his 4 sons. Inside, they find the broken pieces of a sword, and instructions to deliver the sword to a specific priest in a library halfway across the continent. It would be a long journey throughout many different places. Along the way, a cult will try to track down the party and steal the sword. This is because, bound inside the sword, is a powerful demon. Along the way, the party will have chances to try to fix the sword, partially free the demon, or just seal it away for study by top men. Each option comes with their own rewards and consequences. I had prepared an ending ready, just in case any of these 3 choices were picked. Everything was in order. Everything was going well. A few towns into the journey, however, the party has encountered the evil cult enough times to start to recognize them. The party decides to infiltrate the cult, to learn more about their intentions, and why they want the sword. The party splits up in what is essentially an extended downtime session, where they each work with other cult members. The party loves the idea, and spirits are high. Then, one player learns the cult has a boat. This boat was outfitted with special tools for demon-related activities, but to the casual observer, it seems like a normal merchant's boat. The player remembers this detail, and returns to the boat that night, hoping to sneak aboard and try to unmask the cult's leadership. A series of bad rolls later, and the boat is on fire. The player learns that using gunpowder and fire magic to blow open a locked chest aboard a ship made out of wood and get more gunpowder is not exactly the brightest idea, retreating the scene of the crime with the slightly singed chest and returning to the rest of the party. Not wanting to punish his less than bright idea, I put all of the information I wanted him to get out of the boat in the box he stole. Inside was some money replacing the cool sell items he could have found. Rather than clues implicating a few nobles in town as high-ranking cult members, I put the noble's name on a deed for the ship. Everything should work out, and the party now has a name of someone in the cult's leadership to investigate. However, as soon as I mention that there is a deed to the ship, and before I can list the name of the owner, the party rogue demands to erase the name, and write himself in as the owner of the boat. He proudly points at his ranks in forgery. The rest of the party do not discourage him, but insist that all of their names get added, so he doesn't own the boat on his own. He rolls a natural 20 before I speak, and the table explodes into cheering. Drinks are spilled, hands are clapped, the landlord is called. We ask to play Dungeons & Dragons quietly during the late hours. The party is jazzed by the idea of owning their very own boat. When I remind them that the boat is a burnt husk sitting on the floor of the dock, this only makes them more excited. They all declare that they want to file an insurance claim on the boat. It has got to be worth hundreds of thousands of gold, and has to be insured. No noble cultist would buy a cheap boat, or leave an expensive boat uninsured. Oh good, now they are interested in who owns the boat with a demonic altar in it, when money is involved. So, I don't want to just shut them down completely, and the final destination of the campaign is accessible by sea. Okay, this is fine. I'm not giving them a boat's worth of gold, however, because they would just spend it on... not reading that. And blow their loot. So I give them a boat. They still need to hire a crew, as forgery does not grant them sailing abilities. They need to plot a new course and come up with a basic schedule of what they want to do, but with their newfound boat, before a crew will sail it for them. And so I know what they might do next, so I can plan around it. The next game session is entirely taken up by a board meeting of We Stole a Boat LLC. They discuss what they can spend on a crew, what goods they can buy to then sell for profit to cover future boat voyages, and crew retention. They discussed everything from hazards to crew equipment, all the way down to tariffs, taxes, and marketing strategies. I spent the week before the session preparing for this. Still, I basically just spent the entire session rapidly Googling and trying to find decent looking data to feed them while they planned how to use their shiny new boat. The next two sessions are split between preparing the ship and further board meetings. They try to leverage every skill, feature, and spell to gain an edge in the market. They try to find what is popular at their destination. They hunt for merchants they can trick, bribe, coerce, and steal from, all in the name of getting their goods as cheaply as possible to maximize profit. One player releases a cloud of noxious gas into a warehouse just to clear it out so they can break in and steal a few crates of apples. I can't really complain. Everyone is having fun, and I am doing my best to keep up with whatever obscure question they have. What is the shelf life of raw fruit on a boat at sea? Can that be extended with mundane means? Magical means? Can we forge the seal of a local trade guild to try and get around import tariffs? Partway through their scurvy adventures of being merchants out on the open sea, I have the cult attack the ship at sea. The party emerges victorious, but they are irritated. They unanimously agree that they should seal the sword in a box with a bunch of rocks and toss it overboard. Even as I watch my entire story literally sink to the bottom of the ocean, I do my best to keep the game going. The cult shows up again at the port. The party is once again irritated that they are still being pursued, since they no longer have the sword. They are likewise vocally upset that the bad guys did not immediately believe them when they said that the sword was now at the bottom of the ocean. They sell their stuff, pay their crew, and happily count their money. They then plan the next expedition back home, and start canvassing for rumours on what sells well this time of year. So, at this point, the party just continues to sail around, fighting off generic sea hazards such as pirates, who are in no way interested in the missing sword, thank goodness, and sea monsters and the like. Everyone is relatively happy again, until the magic user brings up that his skills are not nearly as useful in manipulating the market as the rest of the team. The rogue can steal and cheat. The fighter can intimidate. The cleric can ask his deity for stock market tips. But he can't do anything but set things on fire. On a boat, made of wood, filled with gunpowder, out at sea. He leaves in the middle of yet another board meeting regarding how to use his magics to make goods appear broken or rotten for a discount, and suddenly no one wants to play with their toy boat anymore. The game dies, and everyone suggests that if I had been more flexible or better at engaging them in their pursuit in maritime profit, things would have gone better? I didn't really know how to feel about the game. I feel that I have improved as a dungeon master over the years, but I often find myself thinking about this game and how I could have ran it better, or at least how I could have ran it differently. Although, in our friend group, we now have a term for killing a Dungeons & Dragons game by doing something random. We call it buying a boat. And that's where the story ends. In strict fairness, it is impossible for a dungeon master to anticipate everything that a party can or will do when faced with any given situation, which makes the ability to improvise and adapt to the evolving situation important. I fully commend the Dungeon Master for at least keeping the game on track as much as they did, considering that the rogue got obsessed with the cookie. Which led to the buying a boat meme for the group. Yeah, this horror story is a bit on the lighter side, but still has potential considerations for players and Dungeon Masters to consider for the table. Sometimes people can just have a completely random idea, and then end up becoming hyper-focused on that particular aspect, and in this case, it indirectly led to the collapse of the game. I do get the distinct impression that the rogue getting the party to focus on the boat was meant in good fun, but it did result in jarring the Dungeon Master away from the intended overarching plot. Especially since the party, who knows that the cult would keep pursuing them since the cult knew they would have the artifact sword in some capacity, be it in direct possession of said artifact, or its location, should have realised that the cult would most likely relentlessly pursue them, no matter where they went. For getting the intended plot back on track, there definitely were a few possible solutions that could tie in perfectly with their new maritime adventures. The simplest solution I can think of would be to take advantage of the party having disposed of the sword. The cult could locate the sword in the middle of the ocean, unleashing the demon within somehow, and perhaps causing a cataclysmic event, with thunderstorms and intense oceanic activity occurring, making sea travel dangerous. This would immediately get the players back onto the intended overarching plot, whilst also potentially making them realise, oh, we made a terrible mistake. From there, the party might then decide to do something about the apocalypse that they could have prevented quite easily. The short version is to make the player's actions have meaning through the use of potentially serious consequences. Although, we did sort of get that with the game collapsing as an indirect result. Feel free to post your thoughts on how the situation could have been avoided or else mitigated in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed my content and would like to see more, feel free to subscribe and give the video a like. It's free to do, and every bit of support is highly appreciated. Plus, you can always change your mind at a later date. And with that, I shall see you all next time.